Hello and welcome to Hope, hearing other people's experiences. And I am so excited today because I have the beautiful, stunning bombshell that is Suzie Kennedy, and she is the most famous Marilyn Monroe impersonator in the world. And also, more interestingly, she's recently qualified and has a degree in is it counselling?
Yes.
So nice to have you here. Thank you so much. And I'd like to just, tell us about your journey and your journey towards sobriety.
I will, but first of all, I just like the fact that you said Marilyn Monroe, because what are they thinking? Marilyn Manson? Definitely not Marilyn Manson.
I hope not, no.
Some days. Well, I did have someone stop me once and say, "You look exactly like Marilyn Manson." I'm like, thank you. I think you mean Monroe. But so I recently qualified as a therapist, which has been good. And it was a degree, not a diploma.
Yes.
All morning, clarification, all morning, you've been saying diploma.
I said it once.
Well, once was enough after I've written a dissertation.
I'm sorry.
My journey with addiction, was that the question?
Yeah, so basically, you've recently celebrated a whole year of sobriety. Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
Massive, because the first year is so hard. And you were doing so much written work as well. That's a lot.
High stress.
So that's
Christmases, summer barbecues, all those temptations, after parties, drinks after work, and all stressful situations. So all the triggers that make you go, I really need a glass of wine.
Oh, yeah, I know that one. So you've managed to get a whole year after all of that. I suppose in a very simplistic way, I just want to know, how did you do that?
Right. Well, this is... My degree is in counselling and theology, so I'm a Christian. And I would say that it's something I've wanted to do for so long. And we've spoke before about how long it takes to give up alcohol. So I have tried probably the last 5 years to give up drinking, probably longer than that. But I used to think, I'll stop drinking. I had the sober app that would tell you how many days you've stopped drinking, be really proud of myself. My ego would rush up. It's been a week. And then something would happen, whether it be a trigger of a memory or a bad day. And I would just think, I'll just have one. I truly believed that I could have one drink and stop. I believed I could go for lunch with people and have one drink and stop. And what I've realised is I can't. And that was a real big revelation to me, that I truly had no control over alcohol. Someone said to me, were you an addict? I would say no. Were you addicted to alcohol? Could you have given it up? I would say yes. And the truth is, I couldn't. And I would challenge anyone listening to this to really ask themselves that question. Because so many people say, I wish I didn't drink, but I like it. All power to you. But could you stop? I would say yes, but I couldn't. I couldn't. Christmas would come, everyone would have a glass of champagne. And after that one glass of champagne, I'd get what I'd call the flavour. I'd be like, ooh, I might have a little sherry. And it's so normalised. It's Christmas. And then by, January, I just feel terrible because I would drink and then I'd go out with friends. And I remember one day, just recently before this year sobriety, me and my friend had 12 margaritas. We met for a coffee. So we had a coffee and then we were like, let's have a margarita and then we'll go. And then it was another and another. And then happy hour started because we'd been there so long. Then we got one free. But it was normal.
Yeah.
It was so normal. And it isn't how people see addiction. People go, well, you're not a real drinking person, because a real drinking person is outside Tesco begging and drunk, and you're just having fun because it's glamorized. It's like Sex and the City. We're out drinking margaritas. We're really sophisticated.
Yeah.
And there's nothing sophisticated about what happened to me finally before I gave up. Being in Beverly Hills, my friends were like, I think you're still banned from the Tropical, Suzie. I'd been day drinking, danger zone. I was with my friend doing a big Marilyn show. They took me to this restaurant. I should have gone home. I wanted to go home, but you're drinking and you don't upset anybody because you have to learn about people pleasing. And I fell into a bush, headfirst into a bush. I don't remember that. Tropical remember that. All the guests remember that. My friend remembers that. All I remember is waking up in my friend's house in Palm Springs. And I was like, why am I still in my clothes? and why have they got sick on them?
Oh, God.
Yeah. Is it getting a bit flashbacky for you?
Yeah, very
They
much.
got sick on them, and I got up, and they were all like, girl. And I'm like, oh, here comes the bad news. And it was like, well, there's your hat. This lovely hat I was just like crushed.
Oh, no.
And yeah, you fell in. Dressed like Marilyn Monroe. People thought I was elegant and fantastic in the middle of the morning. And then I was. And I thought, this isn't me. This isn't what I want to be. You know, and there's too many of those stories now. Mm-hmm. And I just asked God, I was like, God, I can't do this on my own. I really can't. I can't. I've tried the monitoring. I've tried the only on the weekends. I've tried only at Christmas. All these excuses, you know, oh, it's fun. Everyone does it. It's okay. Oh, you got to have fun. And finally I was like, this isn't fun. This is horrible. And also, we'll go to that in a minute, but because I've had cancer, alcohol is deadly to your body. Mm-hmm. It ruins your bones. It ruins your calcium. So there's other reasons as well. And I just asked God, you're going to have to help me. And I don't know what the Holy Spirit does, but that year has been easy. And I hate saying anything's easy. I'd like to have an ego to go, yeah, it's really difficult. And I persevered, but I didn't. It was easy. And Christmas came and parties came and being on tour and after dinner drinks. And I was just like, no, I don't have a desire for it. And now I'm sitting with friends thinking, let me smell that wine. No, I don't want it. So something's happened. There's been a transformation. And I'm like, that's not purely me, because I can just smell alcohol now. And I'm like, ugh.
Same.
So strange.
When before I'd be like, where's mine? You know? So, wow, that it was flashbacky because I've had a few. Unfortunately, I do remember some of mine. Waking up covered in sick with people looking just disdain face at me, which I thoroughly deserved, right? But you asked God to help you. And he just did, right? And it is simple. It is simple. If you believe, it's simple. I didn't know what I was praying to, but I meant it that day that I had my last drink. And I think that sounds like a spiritual experience like you had, right? And sometimes it takes utter humiliation to realize that perhaps I'm just one of those people that shouldn't be drinking.
Yeah. And I think there's so many of us that really convince ourselves that it's normal, especially in the UK. The UK is so drinky. Mm-hmm. It's so drinky. I mean, England just played, and I went to watch England play in a church, and there was beer. No. And I had this conversation with somebody, and I said, what do you think about the fact that there's beer in a church? And they were like, oh, well, it's, you know, we're kind of like trying to bring people in. And I get it, so I'm not going to, you know, criticise it too much. But church can be a place where a lot of people that don't drink find solace. Mm-hmm. But drinking is so normalised in this country that if you didn't have beer in a game, and everybody there had one beer and stopped, right? It wasn't a drunk fest, but it was still present because it's normal in this country. It's everywhere. It's sponsorship. It's not. And you watch EastEnders. This was really, because when you stop drinking, you notice where it's everywhere. You see it, right? So it's like when you buy a red car, suddenly everyone's got a red car. Exactly. But I was watching EastEnders and I was like, they drink constantly throughout this show. It starts in the pub, which is very nice, the pub, but even when they go home, they open a bottle of wine. Mm-hmm. If they go and meet anybody, there's alcohol all the way through that show. I mean, there's an alcoholic in the show at the moment, which is a great storyline, but it's normal.
Trigger.
Yeah, it's normal. And it's like, it's when you don't drink, you're like, why are you not drinking? Are you pregnant? Are you on antibiotics? Or are you an addict? So there's only those three options. There's never, because I don't want to. It's still abnormal not to drink.
It is. It is. And I remember when I was first, because I think I was trying for about 5 years, like you were, to like trying all the different ways of like getting around the actual giving up drinking. And, you know, there were these those mini depressing bottles of wine next to sushi and sandwiches and lunch choices, right? Yeah. So it's 12 p.m. and, don't mind if I do. I don't really know anywhere else that is like that. And so you're right, it's all over the place.
Yeah. And it's like you say, you just go into Marks and Spencer's and there's little travel-sized all of them now. And you get on a train, and like I say, I'm not judging, because I was that person. I was so glad that you can get gin and tonic in a tin.
Yeah, me too.
But it enabled me. It enabled me to have gin and tonic in a tin. Usually I would drink just so I go to a bar and drink. But now I could get on a train.
How convenient.
Yeah, and it's like, that's how insidious it is to get into your bloodstream, and you crave it. So I am proud it's been a year, but it's definitely a co-labour, because it was a transformation, and I really don't know how I do it, but I've got to tell you, I've been so productive since.
Yeah.
If you stop drinking and take drink out, your body like regenerates. I have got so much energy. Everything that people say I've got ADHD, and like I used to be very much like that. I couldn't read a book or anything.
I have that too.
I think it was my nervous system. I think it was so easy for me to say that, but I think it was my nervous system was just not regulated, and now I can read books. Now alcohol is out of my system. My mind is calmer. I mean, also I know grounding techniques because I've trained as a therapist, so it's not completely down to alcohol, but it's definitely affected the regulation of my body by having alcohol out of it.
Yeah, because your nervous system has had a chance to recover. And I love the fact that I can use my brain. Because before, I remember this one time I was chatting to somebody and it was on a relapse. And as I'd had a couple of drinks, I felt my vocabulary leaving me. I remember the feeling. I was talking to this guy and all of a sudden I couldn't find my words. So I really do remember that, because it just makes me stupid. Like, it makes me inarticulate, stupid, sloppy, and, God knows what else, right?
I tell you what it done to me. It's really interesting you say that, because what it done to me is it brought out all the trauma. I mean, I've had therapy continuously for the last 3 years, but all the trauma that I couldn't vocalize.
Yeah.
So it would come out quite aggressively, quite nastily. And I wouldn't say, if friends would go, oh, Suzie, you weren't an aggressive drunk, you were funny. But I was so destructive to myself, because there was a part of me that wasn't happy, that wanted to die, basically. So I didn't mind having reckless sex. I didn't mind if I got super drunk and fell in a hedge. What's the worst that's going to happen to me? Do I die? Because that's not the worst. And that's when you know that you have a mental health problem, is if dying isn't the worst thing that can happen to you.
Yeah.
How frightening is that? Just saying that now makes me go, what?
Yeah, but I know that
I love life now.
Yeah, like that's what we call in my area of recovery is the jumping off place. The jumping off place is where, like, I could jump off this cliff or not, or I could have a drink. I'm cool with either, really.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. I'm the cool girl. I'm cool with whatever happens to me, because I don't care.
Yeah, if I died, it would be okay. Like, it'd be fine. My parents would get over it eventually. And it's like the madness and the selfishness that addiction takes me. Well, it took me to anyway. It's quite scary.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting, because for my dissertation, I wrote about women and alcohol and the impact of it. And there was a part of the Bible where it's in John 10:10. And it says, the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And I've come to give you life. And I thought, that is alcohol. Alcohol kills you, steals your life, and destroys your life. Whereas the relationship I have now with God has told me, Suzie, I saw all that. I saw whatever your friends want to remind you of, or your enemies, because you're not really friends if they want to remind you of stuff.
Yeah.
Want to remind you of, or shame. I've seen it all. You know it all. Own it. There's nothing you can shame me. It's really important when you talk about shame earlier and before the podcast, because you cannot say anything to shame me, because I am so loved in God. I'm so loved. I'm a daughter of a king, not King Charles, the king, like the King of Kings, right? Says I'm perfect. I'm redeemed. I start anew as a fresh person, and all that stuff, I own it. And it shows me that was the kill, steal, and destroy. That was trying to kill my life, destroy my life, and steal my life. And now it's changed. And that's John 10:10. To me, it's such an important part of Scripture, because that part of your life is it? You can't disown it. It's part of it. But it's made you now be able to do what we're doing and see people that go, do you know what? You can be recovered. This isn't going to be your life. It doesn't have to be the end of your life.
It doesn't, because there's a lot to live for.
Yeah.
Also, this brings me on to the next question. I suppose when you're portraying Marilyn, we'll come back to the theology stuff, but is there a sort of expectation that people have of you to drink champagne?
Do you know what? I have a real love-hate relationship with portraying Marilyn Monroe, and I've dealt with this in therapy. Marilyn Monroe saved my life. And what I mean by that is I was I had a child abuse, so if you go on the internet, you can see articles about it, so we won't go through it all again here. But I suffered from long-term child abuse, child sexual abuse, coercive abuse, emotional abuse, until up to adulthood. And the only escape I had from that was somebody said, "You look like Marilyn Monroe." And that gave me access to a life where I could make money. My abuser took the money, so I never made any money out of Marilyn. But what I got to do was see a world and live a life. But alcohol had been introduced to my life early on during abuse, which anyone knows about child sex abuse. They like you to have, they introduce you to things you shouldn't have, smoking, drinking, because it becomes part of a way to control you. But Marilyn Monroe was famous for drinking champagne, so it made it glamorous. There wasn't anything about having champagne that was like, that's going to harm you. And if you look at Marilyn, there was nothing glamorous about her when she drank. If her last interview, she starts off really strong and clear what she's saying, and then the interviewer says, as the interview goes on, she's drinking more champagne, she gets more aggressive, all these things come out of her. Her body was failing. Everyone says she looks great. Yes, she did and she didn't. Do you know what I mean? She did look great and she didn't look great.
It's the eyes.
You could see thank you. You could see the eyes, if you know. And there's something that was there in her that I think, imagine if she didn't have alcohol. Imagine but alcohol had been this glamorous thing. Marilyn Champagne. I've been hired to launch champagnes. I've been hired to... They'll give you a drink in your hand, because nearly every picture of Marilyn Monroe at the end of her life, she's got a drink in her hand.
Yeah.
So it's constantly there when you're doing... I've done so many films playing Marilyn Monroe, filling up champagne, drink champagne. I've just done a show for Julie Burchill in Brighton. The whole time I'm drinking. They had to have non-alcoholic because she was drinking a lot at the end of her life. So there's part of me that feels that playing Marilyn Monroe enabled, I'm not blaming her, I don't know her, but that personality enabled me to embrace drinking as part of my character, as part of glamour, sex appeal. What's sexy about standing there with a Diet Coke?
You're making that look pretty sexy,
do you know
I have
what
to
I mean?
say.
It's not, is it? I mean, if it's at 11 o'clock and it's a man holding it, like the Coke advert. But we see Sex in the City, let's all go and have a margarita.
It's sophisticated.
They don't say, let's go and have, a Diet Coke.
Let's go shoot up some heroin.
Well, I always say that about EastEnders. If they were saying, let's have some heroin or some Coke, it'd be banned.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you say, if Marilyn Monroe was there shooting up heroin, that picture wouldn't be made. But drinking champagne, the only thing in her... I mean, I remember going to LA, and I used to be quite proud to say the only thing in my kitchen in the fridge is a chicken salad and a bottle of champagne. I thought that seemed really glamorous. Because that's like Marilyn. And in a way, it does. It's sophisticated. But it's not, is it? What's sophisticated about falling down the stairs and smashing your face open?
It's a lie. We're sold a lie, aren't we? And I think you've really hit the nail on the head there, because Marilyn, at the end of her life, sadly, she was pictured with booze all the time. And you probably have to, as you just said, be in boozy situations. Yeah. So have you been in a situation like that since getting sober, and how did you navigate that?
This is really interesting, because I thought, how am I going to be buzzy and Marilyn-y without alcohol? Because before I'd have to go on a job and think, I'll quickly have a glass of wine before I go on stage. So this is going to be really difficult. And do you know what? It's been so easy. And I hate saying that. Because I'll give that to God. That's why when I said the 1 year and I said glory to God, everyone's like, well, it's actually you. And I'm like, no, trust me, it's not. It's not all me. because I could regulate my emotion.
Yes.
And having no alcohol in my body, what I realised is I was anxious to go and portray Marilyn Monroe and have men speak to me and be quite sexual. I'm not saying, all men are like leering all over me, because they're fun. They're at a party environment. They weren't always like that. But I have to allow men to come close to me. I have to play this character. Mm-hmm. I have to act in a sexual way. And because of the trauma that I've been through and because of my problems I've had in relationships with men, I needed alcohol to be in that situation. Mm-hmm. Now I don't have alcohol. I have to ground myself and go, right, I'm playing a role. I'm going in there and I'm acting. Mm-hmm. And I can navigate situations better. I can leave situations better. I'm never in uncomfortable situations, because as soon as a guy says, did you know, which I hear a lot, Marilyn Monroe had sex with 2 brothers, right? Awkward conversation. The old me would be like, did she do it? Now I go, that's interesting, goodbye.
Yeah,
and move
good.
on, right? Because
Good.
I'm not in that state of anxiety. I'm very grounded and I can play the character and leave. And my actual acting, not to blow my own trumpet, but I did get a 5-star review for my show. My acting as Marilyn is better because I'm sober.
Of course it is. I completely get
I'm
that.
present. I'm present.
You can be present for the whole performance, because before, like, I've done a few stage shows. I was in a play not recently, and I was like, I was about a year and a half into sobriety, and my party used to be after the show, but my party was on that stage, and then I left and relaxed and went back the next night. Whereas before, I would have that booze in the dressing room, and I'm opening it the second I get off.
Yes.
And now it's like, this is what it's about. This is the fun bit.
Yes.
It's the performing. Who knew?
Oh, I so relate to that, because that's exactly how I felt. I came off stage at Brighton and they were like, we're going to the bar now. And I'm like, wow, I've just had the best time on stage. I've had the high.
Exactly.
I've had that high.
That's the point.
Yeah. And now I loved it. My performance, I could remember all the words. I was in there. And now I just want to go back to my hotel room, have a nice cup of tea, read a book and chill. And I used to think, well, what boring. I'm like, no, it's not boring. It's fantastic. And also I went out with my friends afterwards and we sat there in the bar. We had a Coke, and we had this really deep, meaningful conversation that the next day we remembered.
There you go, right?
Or we make plans of like doing this podcast. We're not calling up going, oh, sorry, Georgie, I'm hungover today. I need to reschedule it. Flaky friends, doing flaky things and not planning. Finishing my degree was down to sobriety. It was really down, because that second year, like you say, it's stressful. I was drinking wine, eating Doritos, and I'm like, I can't get into my dresses and I'm feeling really blunt and this is getting hard. Gave it up, and I'm just like, wow, I can power through these books and do this and do an exam. And it's this energy that comes back, and you're like, it's not boring. It's actually, I'm getting the real highs, natural highs from achieving things.
This is how you were, I think, how we were supposed to feel. So, if a child, I was very lucky. I had a very good childhood, and I think I was purely happy until about the age of 18. Right? So that is who I really am. But then I got, well, I'm sorry, but you can beat the shat on by fear and society and, addiction and all that stuff. And it's now that I feel I've returned to that childlike excitement when I approach new things. Yeah, and you can remember your conversations. That's amazing. I love that. And I wanted to go on to your theology degree.
like Suzie, get over yourself. Like, I'm so proud of getting a degree. Like degree, because I didn't even go to school. I had, because of what I was going through, this has been so epic for my life. And my mum, she said, because I didn't care about graduation, and she's like, no, I want to come to your graduation because these are all the things that you should have been doing if what had happened to you hadn't happened to you. You would have got a good education. She goes, you were really bright. She goes, I'd turn up at school and there was bits of writing, and your writing would be like all of this. You had such an imagination, and that was stifled by abuse. So these are like rites of passage, and there's parts of that I haven't been through. Like my first sexual experience was abuse.
Right.
So I've never had a sober relationship. I've just started dating someone. It's the first time I've dated someone sober. So I feel like I'm learning to walk.
Yeah.
It's so crazy and a little bit scary.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like there's a part in the Bible, it says, everything that has been taken from you will be restored.
Yes.
That's a scripture. Right. And I feel like because I've surrendered to the fact and been honest and lost my ego in that, I know the things I've done. I also know the things that are my fault.
Good. Yeah.
You know,
It's
and
important.
sometimes I think with addiction, you can be like, I'm an addict because this. Yeah, these things. But there's also part of it is, you know, terrible choices that I made.
Yeah.
Quite willingly. You
Yeah.
know?
This theology degree of yours, I want to hear all about it. And have you always been a Christian, or have you been spiritual? And what did that degree entail?
Well, so my degree, I decided to do it because like I said to you, I've not had an education. I didn't, because I was going through abuse, I didn't get educated. I didn't turn up at school. So I thought, I'm going to get this degree. And I wanted it in counselling because the amount of stuff I've experienced, that wasn't for no reason. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a part in Romans where Paul says joy is suffering, right? And you're like, all right, Paul, wouldn't go that far. I won't really call it joy. But what he means by that is, you know, he was imprisoned. Paul was a follower of Jesus, right? So he was imprisoned for his belief. And he was just like, yeah, there's joy in this. I've begged for him to take this thorn out of my side, but he's left it there and I must be joyous. And it's really challenging. But now I look back on that and I think, I would not choose to have been abused. I ended up having stage 3 cancer. My cancer metastasized. So I would not choose these things. But what they've done is they've made me appreciate life. They've made me have empathy for people that have suffered the same and walked these roads. So I still wouldn't agree it's joy, Paul, but what it is there's a purpose, and we can look back and think, if this didn't happen to me, I would not be here. So to go and become a counsellor to me was my way of saying, thank you, Lord, for getting me through this. What can I do to serve you so I can walk with other people through this journey? Because I've got a problem when people say, I want to help people. Like I can't help you, but I can walk with you through this because I know these roads. You know, it's like when you go to a foreign country and your friend's like, well, I live here so I can show you around. They can't make your trip brilliant. They can't make you have the best time, but they can show you the way. And to me, I know what it's like to be abused. You'll never get over it. But what you do is you learn to live with it and you learn to find coping strategies and grounding. I know what it's like to binge drink. I know what it's like to be scared in relationships. I know what it's like to feel not in your own skin, and I've worked through them. So how can I use that? So I decided to do a counselling degree.
Yeah. No, do you know what? That's absolutely right. You should be very proud of yourself because, you know, you've had to do it as a grown up, right? Yeah. Yeah. And
going back to school when you're a grown up is not good.
No.
It's like, oh, Father's taking all the power from me. But I did it with theology because to me, that spiritual side, I think, cannot be lost. Because although I'm a Christian, I do think that it's important for people to access a higher, AA does it, you know, find your higher power. That surrender, to me, Jesus is the best person because he had human form to show us how to be. That's unique in faith, that God came in human form and suffered. So he knows what it's like to be abused. He got abused. He had to walk through the streets being called names. I know what it's like to be called names. I know what it's like to be judged. You do too. Jesus does. So God was like, I have to come to earth and experience what it feels like to be human. And people, there's other religions that say, why would God need to do that? God would know that. Well, that just shows what a loving God he is. Because he's like, I can assume I know it, but I'm going to feel it. And that's how he's called the ultimate counsellor. And that's how me as a counsellor wants to walk alongside someone because I know that feeling. And you have to feel it. A lot of therapists would argue with me that you don't have to feel these things. You don't have to have gone through these things. I would argue back, it makes you a better therapist.
Yeah.
I believe that.
No, I can see that. You're a wealth of knowledge and I find that I'm a sum of everything that I've been through, right? And I'm not a victim because it's really easy when you first get sober, for me anyway, like, oh, well, obviously, if you had that happen to you, you'd drink as well. And it's like, no, I took my power back in a way, because I was like, no, I definitely participated in that situation. I did. So I'm not your victim anymore, right? And that is empowering.
Yeah.
Because then I can let that go and just deal with my stuff. I don't
Yeah.
have to deal with their stuff. I can't.
Yeah.
Like you said, I walk alongside, and sometimes I walk away.
Yeah, that's important too.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really, I mean, you'd make a great therapist. You said your mum was one, but you'd be a great therapist.
She therapizes me all the time.
Yeah, if you know when to walk away. And that's that whole Messiah complex where you've really got to be careful in the, oh, I can help this person, I can save this person. No, I can't save you, but I can walk with you. Jesus can save you because he saved me. And if he can save me, he can save anyone, right? But it's like, that's not my job. That's God's job or your higher power. My job is to go, I get it, and we're going to work together. And I have the tools, I have techniques that I can share with you, but I can't save you. You've got to do that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes a client will walk away.
Yeah.
And you've got to be humble enough to go, that's their journey.
Yeah.
That's their journey. That's their choice.
Humility is hard. It's a hard skill to grasp. But once you get it, life is so much easier and kinder.
Yeah.
It's just like, why didn't I do this before? Oh, yeah, I was mental.
Yeah. And also it's the value in myself. And this is the thing. Like, I think that place of ego comes from, because, the biggest sin in the Bible is ego. And like people always go, it's sexuality, it's this, no. Read it. The biggest sin is ego. And it's when you read that, you see it, you think, okay, let me check in on my ego. And you realise that you were needing affirmation because there's parts of you lacking. So if your client coming back to you, your therapy client coming back to you, is affirming you, you're not doing therapy right. Mm-hmm. Because it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about them. So if you're like, oh, I helped this person, I feel great, you're not doing therapy right. There's something lacking in you. Mm-hmm. To me, it's like, I can do this because I've lived this road, and I really hope you never go down that road, so let's work together.
Yeah.
If you fly, of course it's nice. You think, well, I'm a good therapist if someone does well, which they're doing, but it's also not my job. Mm-hmm. I'm just working with them.
Yeah.
And I think I have to check in on my ego and what I'm doing things for. And sometimes I would drink because I didn't feel comfortable in certain spaces. Now I have the confidence to go, I don't want to be in that space.
Yeah.
And if they think I'm boring or they think I've changed, I have changed. I have.
Yeah.
And you can either come with me or not go with me.
You're really you now.
Yeah. And then you might lose people that were your friends.
Fine.
But you're saying it for me. But it's important, isn't it? But if you still have that need to, I need this person to affirm me, I need these friends to love me, I can't lose this friendship group, you will not get over your addiction.
Mm-mm. No.
Because you have to be, I mean, Jesus says we will stand alone and be hated. People can use that for right-wing Christianity. I don't think that's true. But what he meant by that is to really follow God, you may have to be alone.
Yeah.
That may mean you give up drinking, you may lose your drinking buddies because they're not your buddies.
They don't even remember what you said.
Yeah. And they're like, well, she used to hang out and I don't know, sleep with me, have sex with me.
Yeah.
You know, and if there's any men listening out there, I'm sure you've done this in your life. Hey you, the hey you men.
Well, hey you, what, 11 p.m. men?
Yeah, the hey you men. You're like, ah.
What you doing?
Yeah. Drunk me would always go, hey you back.
Hey you back, do you have any Coke?
Right. And then suddenly you get to that point, you're like, oh, there's a hey you man. Delete block.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Empowering.
And it's not you going, I don't like that. Well, it's me going, oh, I don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't need hey you man.
Affirmation.
I don't need affirmation because there was something lacking in me.
Hole in the soul, we call it, yeah.
There you go.
And so I love that both of us, we don't have a hole anymore because we filled it with something better. And it's available to anybody. And this is what this podcast is about. It's about trying to show all the different ways to fill one's soul.
Well, do you know, St. Augustine, I quoted him as St. Augustine, that man that you probably all know and love.
Oh, he's my neighbour.
Exactly. Yeah. Jeremy's a great influencer. He said that he truly believed, because he was quite a wayward kind of guy. He wasn't always like this, monkey, amazing, like monk. He, had a child out of wedlock, and he was quite a rebel. And then he, became monk. And he said, there's a part of you that is never going to be fulfilled until it's full by God. It's a God-shaped hole. He was the first person that was like, and once he had that hole filled, he changed.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that, and I don't care if it makes me sad, because I remember when I was young, I used to go, those Christians, they're like, well, weird. I mean, I stood on stage in front of like 1,000 girls last week in Liverpool, and I said, I never wanted to be a Christian. I never wanted to be anything to do with those people that wore really weird sandals and played guitar. Like, ew, not me. And then I'm thinking, well, that isn't what a Christian is.
No.
A Christian is someone that follows God, follows Jesus. And that's what I am. And I can still wear dresses, and I don't own a pair of Birkenstocks, and I never will.
Oh, God for that.
Yeah, they're hideous. Sorry if you like them, but they're hideous.
They always smell bad.
Yeah. But so... yeah, and there's going to be parts of Christians that you'll be like, oh, I'm nothing like them. Trust me, I see them all the time. And I'm like, oh, ugh.
Yeah.
But it's about your relationship with God.
Exactly.
And my relationship with God is biblical, it's scriptural. I know that more so doing this, but it's filled that, St. Augustine was right, it's filled that hole where I can stand, like Jesus says, on my own and be hated. Some people will hate the fact that I don't want to go out and get drunk with them. Right? So that's a version of being hated. Some people are going to hate the fact that they've not grown. They see you and they think you're better. Oh, who's Suzie? Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Like going around, I remember when. They're going to hate that side of you. And it's where you sit there and go, do you know what? I understand why you hate me. And it's not patronising. It's like, I understand.
Yeah.
But that's something you've got to deal with.
It's pain. It's their pain.
It's their pain. I can't change that. And I'm not going to do something to make you like me.
Oh, God, I used to think I had to make everyone like me. I could only focus on the people, like 40 people in a room, 39 like me, one didn't. I'm not paying attention to anybody but that one person. I'm going to make you like me, and you will like me, or, I'm going to die, or whatever.
I say to clients, what is it like not to be liked? Because it's some deeper trauma where you've not felt love. Or affirmed, a rejection. And there's the easiest way to not ever feel heartbreak or rejection is to not love anyone, which is not a very nice place to be. It means you're shutting yourself off, and that's the other extreme.
Yeah.
So, and I think I got to both of those extremes in my life, where I loved everyone too much. It wasn't real love. It was, you must love me. Do you want to sleep with me? Sleep with me then.
Yeah.
Come round my house. Oh, they love me. No, they don't love you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They don't love you.
I know that one.
So many young girls do, and they're like, oh, I really like this guy, and if I sleep with him, he'll like me. It's like, not to quote, I'm giving EastEnders a lot of airtime. They did that in EastEnders. The girl was like, I'm going to sleep with him because I think he likes this other girl, and if I sleep with him, then he'll like me more. Real teenage situation that I've been in, like you just said, that you've been in. Because we don't want to be rejected. We don't want to feel not pretty.
Yes.
We don't want to feel not loved.
I've still got it right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then suddenly you're like, no, I'm okay. I'm loved. I am loved unconditionally by a higher power. And people go, well, but I need an actual affection, like real love. Give it to God and he will bring you the right love.
Absolutely.
Because the love that you're getting at the moment is not real love. It's you've got to, and not to be all Oprah, but you have to learn to love yourself.
You do have to love yourself.
That's very bold.
Yes. Well, it's true. You do have to love yourself. I mean, you're stuck with you until you die. So you might as well love yourself.
Yeah. And work on yourself.
Yeah.
It's the longest relationship you're ever going to have.
Yes. And you know what? That first relationship that I had in sobriety and recovery was just a real like acid test for me. Like, so I realized how codependent I'd been. Because I hadn't had any serious relationships. I had relationships, but I couldn't be faithful to save my life because I was just going where the drugs were. And now it's like I have this person and I have to look after them because I went right back to my mother's behavior with my father when I was growing up, which was, she's the daughter of an alcoholic and she had to do everything for everyone. She felt, never asked for help, never turned to anybody. She won't mind me saying this because we've talked about it. But I sort of, without even realizing it, went back to that behavior in Sobriety. And I'm like, I'm growing this little resentment garden against this guy because he hasn't said thank you, or I'm expecting him to read my mind.
Yeah.
And that's not fair. And so, yeah, it was a big learning experience. So codependence, I think as women also, we're supposed to, be agreeable.
And be the nurturer.
That's how it's what we've been told, right? Growing up, I think.
Yeah.
In my neck of the woods.
Yeah. With me, it's been interesting because that need to be loved, because my dad was an alcoholic. So I think, some people say, is alcoholism a gene? Like you just said, I don't know.
No. I don't know. I think it might be.
I don't know. And then my dad ended up committing suicide. So is suicide a gene, right? So I've got an alcoholic and suicide gene both happening genetically in my body. Both of those situations, I've tried to commit suicide. God, it's ridiculous. I look back now and I'm like, I took so many paracetamol and I woke up the next day. That's a miracle, because I should have been dead, because I know how many paracetamol can kill you, and I should have been dead. And there's been so many situations. And I look at it and I think, I don't know if it's genetic, but all I know is I'm so glad that I don't drink alcohol anymore, because it's breaking a generational trauma.
Yes.
And my half brother, he's in America, it's my dad's side. He's just given up alcohol, and it's been 6 months, and I'm so proud of him, because he's a little bit wild, very, very wild. And I can see that we're trying to break those chains, and I pray a lot for my family to take that chain out. Mm-hmm. But what I noticed, because I didn't have love from my dad, because my dad left when I was really young, because he was an alcoholic and it's just his thing, I searched for love. And I needed to have a guy affirm me, tell me they love me all the time, text me all the time, don't leave me.
Yeah.
And this time, it's gone.
Good.
So now it's like, oh, sorry I didn't text you yesterday. I'm not thinking he's texting someone else. I'm not. I'm just thinking he's really busy. He's got a really good job.
You're at peace.
He's really busy. And if he's not texting me because he's texting another girl, I don't want this person in my life anyway.
Exactly.
So whatever will be, will be. And at the moment, it's really healthy and it's really nice. But it's because I'm at peace with the fact that I can be on my own. I can be loved. And those who want to bring love to me will be great. I don't have to go, can you please love me?
Yeah. I felt that.
Yeah. Because I need to be loved. Yes, I'm full of love. I've got great friends as well, but you pick the right friends, but then love will come when you don't need someone. I can't, like, as a therapist, I can't stop you drinking. Mm-hmm. Only you can do that. Mm-hmm. But we can be together and work through it. Yeah. And I think a relationship is exactly like God created. Man and woman, and I don't mean that against gay people, woman and woman, man and woman, but it's a
Yes.
It's not one person giving you something that you're lacking. You don't lack. You're both equal.
Yes.
None of you are lacking.
Yes.
God didn't say woman really needs man, man really needs woman. He said, I need them together as one.
Yeah.
One's not going to supply more.
So where can we find out more about your Faith in Me venture?
So I had to come up with a name for my because I'm launching it in September.
Yes.
So, and it's called Faith in Me Therapy. And my actual therapist, I love this, my therapist went, I wouldn't go to your therapy. And I was like, thanks.
What?
Thanks for how much? And he was like, well, the reason I wouldn't is because it says faith, and I don't, because he's an atheist, my therapist, which I find really interesting that I'm a Christian with an atheist therapist.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I love it. I love the fact he's a gay man and he's an atheist, and I'm a straight woman and I love God. What a perfect therapist. You know,
it's
challenge
definitely
yourself.
A sitcom.
Yeah, challenge yourself, right? Don't go with people that you think suit you. And he suits me very well because he challenges me. But it's called Faith in Me Therapy. And what it is because I'm a Christian and I believe that faith in something will help you. The reason it's called Faith in Me is because I want you to have faith in yourself. Mm-hmm. I want you to have faith in me. But I also, for people that are Christian, there's faith in you, and that's what God put in you at the end. Jesus said, I will be with you until the end of time. Not present with his disciples when he left them, not presently, but I am in you.
Yeah.
So there's faith in me, faith in you, faith in yourself. So if anyone thinks it's just Christians, it's not, because I don't work with Christians at the moment. I work with people with addiction and people with anxiety and depression.
Okay.
And I've had the odd Christian person, but it wasn't planned. But yeah, so Faith in Me Therapy is my therapy service. But you don't have to be a Christian. It's just I want you to have faith in yourself. Because I tell you something, if you have faith in yourself, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Including giving up drinking.
Oh, Suzie, listen, is there anything else that you want to talk about?
No, do you know what? I really hope that anyone listening to this, and I know some of my, I hate calling them fans, but followers, whatever you want to call them now, I know so many of them have written to me and said, I'm really trying to give up drinking. And the one thing I'd say is don't try. Don't make it this, because it gives you anxiety.
Just do it.
And anxiety will make you want to drink, right?
Oh.
Just take it day by day. Because the one thing, I don't know if you did this when you first stopped drinking. I'd be like, it's been a week now.
Yeah.
I want to get to 2 weeks. I want to get to 3 weeks. And I see this with addiction.
I used to.
A year, 2 years. Oh, everyone's getting their chips. And to me, I didn't drink today.
Yes.
And suddenly it's turned into a year.
Yeah.
I didn't put pressure on myself.
Yes.
So, and one thing I said, I'm going to go to this party tonight and I might have a drink. But I don't want to, but I might. I'm allowing myself that freedom to make a decision and not be told. Because that internal voice that tells you you're bad and rotten and you shouldn't drink, that's still to me quite a demonic voice. It's like, you are bad if you drink. I'm like, no, if I want to drink, I have a drink. But I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And it was giving me that. And it's like people say, if God was real, why does he let bad things happen? Well, I love that God does absolute freedom. And he's like, I've given you freedom to absolutely destroy your life. Right?
You can do it
because
yourself.
I'm glad he did that. Because it shows me where I don't want to be. And that was with drinking. I was like, if I want to have a drink tonight, I will. But I don't want one.
Exactly.
And it turned into a year.
My head goes to, I have that same thought process. I'm like, oh no, it makes you mentally ill. And that's that simple. Done.
I don't want to be in a hedge later on.
I don't want to be covered in sick, thanks. I don't want to wake up next to some guy I've not met before.
Yeah, who I literally probably wouldn't talk to
Where are my clothes?
If I was sober. I mean, some of the people, let me just say, you should be so happy that alcohol existed because you'd have never got near me otherwise.
Yes. I second that actually. But yeah. Anyway.
Exactly.
Sorry, just all right. So listen, Suzie,
that's why they hate the fact we've given up drinking.
Yeah. Drink up, honey. Right. So I guess thank you so much for coming and talking to me.
Thank you for inviting me. You're amazing.
You're amazing. Oh my God.
No, you really are. You really are. It's beautiful what you're doing this, and the fact that you're so honest with your story, and also you're not judgmental and you're not bitter about it. Because sometimes I think with, like, I've seen this in recovery, you can get a bit like preachy-deachy. Like, people might think I'm preaching.
Gives me the ick.
Yeah, and it's just like normal. And your story, my story, and the other stories they're so individual. Like, people are going to listen to this and like, my story may not be like yours. But if you can grab a tiny bit,
then it's worth
you're
it.
like doing like little grains of sand that you're putting there and you're like building this amazing beach. So thank you.
Well, you are a very beautiful grain. So it's been an
absolute sand.
Inside and out. It's been really surreal interviewing someone that looks so much like Marilyn Monroe. But a very, very enjoyable one. Thank you so much for your honesty. And yeah, like we'll put links and stuff just down there. Thanks, Adam, for the graphics.
At Suzie Kennedy Instagram.
Yeah. What she said. So that's it for season 1. Thank you all so much for watching. And I hope that by hearing other people's experiences, we've given you some hope.